Most of us think budget is just a list of bills. And I want to come very clean today to you. And when you ask people, do you do budgeting from many of the references or from the majority that I have discussed with, they have a list of bills, not budget. And so they will tell you, they list down what they are going to spend on. And that's what they call a budget. That my power is going to take this much, my transport is going to take this much, my this is going to take this much. And so they list whatever they are going to spend on. And that's what they call a budget. I know that's what you think we're going into. Yes, that's good enough, but that's not a budget. So we want to look at this domestic budget into details. So a budget is not a list of bills, but a budget must have a component. It must have about 4 components in it. And those 4 components will define for you what is called a budget. And you must consider them. So I'm going to categorize them into the 4 major components that makes a budget. And one of them is called the mandatory bills and expenses. That must be a component of a budget. Mandatory bills and expenses. Then the other component of a budget is debt repayment. I know that has come to you as a shock. Debt repayment. Then the other component of a budget is savings and investment. Okay, so you are now seeing it's not a list of bills. So it's savings and investment. And then the other component, which is my last one, is miscellaneous wants and givings. So these 4 things make what we call a budget. So now you can begin to judge yourself from there, whether you have all these 4 components within what you have been calling a budget. So my work is just to open your eyes again to what you might have known, or to remind you of what you might have known, and also encourage you to begin to practice. Because as children of God, we need to have healthy financial life and be good stewards of what God has given us. Okay, so and then if you have these components, you must have what we call the rule of thumb for budgeting. Rule of thumb for budgeting is there. So the 4 components now are categorized into what we call percentage. Percentage. So we have the mandatory bills and expenses that should take 50% of your budget. And I emphasize that 50% is good, and don't go beyond 50%. If you are using the 50-30-20 rule, okay? So savings and investment should take 30%, and debt repayment. So savings and investment and debt repayment must take 30% of the budget. And then miscellaneous wants and giving must take 20% of your budget. I know as I'm saying this, you who is listening, you're already thinking, I only earn 100,000, so what are you saying, man of God? Yeah, this is where we are coming. And so budgeting has nothing to do with how much you earn. It has much to do with your spending habit. Budgeting has not come, I know, for husbands and wives. It must be shocking to some of you. You might think when you do budgeting, someone is stingy. Someone is becoming so careful about their finances. No, budgeting is not is not to waste you. It's not to make you stingy. Budgeting is actually to bring for you what we call financial freedom. That's the intent of budgeting. It is supposed to bring financial freedom in your life. So we have looked at those various components and their percentage. You realize that savings and investment and debt repayment have been combined under 30%. So we are going to launch into the first category, which is mandatory bills and expenses. We have given it 50%. And so what is this mandatory bills and expenses? Okay, I want to talk into that. Mandatory bills and expenses. These are your needs. They are 100% your needs. And our needs again vary from household to household, from individual to individual, from persons to persons, from country to country, from villages, from cities. So they vary. They vary. They are never the same. Your needs might not be my needs. Your needs might be my wants. So you must be able to identify what your needs are. The needs are the things that you cannot do without them. I'm being very specific. Needs are the things that you cannot do without them. So you must come out with a list of those things that you cannot do without them. However, they should not exceed 50% of your budget. Okay? Now, I will just sample for you what these needs look like, but you can customize them to your own standard. Now, number one thing that should be on the list of your needs should be your tithe. Now I'm speaking to Christians, non-Christians. I'm speaking to all of us. I know when I say tithe is number one on the need list, some people are going to argue. But I have done a video about tithing. So you can refer to that video and you will be in position to understand tithing. But in this specific budget needs, tithing is number one. Pick a 1/10 of your income and give it back to your church. I have a privilege to speak about this because I don't run a church. If I was, you would think my interest is your money. But that's not true. I'm simply trying to tell you why it is a need. So reference to our teaching about tithing. Proverbs 3:9 says, honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruit of all your increase. Honor the Lord. So whatever you receive, you honor the Lord with it because he has provided for you. I'm not going to talk much about tithing. I will stop there. Just go back to my teaching about tithing. The second thing on your list could be now any other need. If you live in a house where there's power, you might need to pay for power. You can again arrange them according to the priorities. If you have rent, you are not living in your own father's house, you are not living in your own house, you are renting, then you need to pay. You need to budget for rent. You have water that you don't have a water pump in your compound. You use, at the context of Uganda, you use national water. Okay? You need to ensure that you have that. You must know how much you pay for water. You must know on a monthly basis how much. So you must include water. Then you know that you have a house help in your house. I'm just speaking about the needs because you have children, because you are too busy that you can't work. You can't do anything within your house. Then you must have that put part of in your need list. You have medical, okay? You have medical. Medical, I'm putting it aside because I'm going to talk about it independently, but you must include at least a medical bill, okay, as part of a need. A portion of money for medical. You have fuel because you drive a car or you use a motorcycle, okay? In any case, you don't have any of those things. You work or you have a business that you have to go to every day. Then you have transport. You must include that as part of your need. You have a car, you know you cars, you must maintain them. Okay? You must maintain them. You must put a portion just in order to take care of a car. I could be talking to people who don't have these things, but you can keep them for future, but or else you can do up to where your needs stop. Okay, so I'm trying to be a little universal in the discussion, because I know the teaching is going to go cross country, is going to go to even developed countries. Okay, then you have school fees, you have children who go to school. That's part of your need. You must put some money aside. You must know, you must include it in your budget. Okay, that is school fees. So these are many things that cut across within your needs. Then you have food, groceries in the house. That one you cannot do away with. You must list that one in your budget. The concept is you must have these fall within 50% of your earnings. So that's what budget looks like when it comes to mandatory bills and expenses, which is 50%. However, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and be able definitely now to watch in details how you can do your grocery or manage or budget for your grocery. I mean food. How you can manage your food and budget for your food, and how you can pay school fees. Okay, and school fees is one of the biggest challenges for parents, and the majority find it extremely. Even people who earn highly have issues to do with school fees, and a video that specifically talks about how to pay school fees. You can connect to our link and be able to watch that, and how also to maintain your cars. Okay, how to maintain your cars. I want to tell you, I've driven a car for a very long time. I'm talking about experience now, and up to now it's still on road. And some people keep wondering how the car is still running. And so you can also get to know that these are all things that you have to factor in the budget, and because they are part of your mandatory bills and expenses. And so if you subscribe to our YouTube, to other videos, you'll be able to watch those specific ones in detail. But I want to just highlight a little bit about cars. And so I want to say your car needs to be budgeted for, because they are part of your need. And so what do you budget for when it comes to a car? How much do you budget for? Majority of us don't budget for our cars or our motorcycles or whatever we use as means of transport. And in less than few months or years, we abandon these things because they have become costly to maintain them. So how do you budget for it? You don't have to wait until your tires are done. That's when you buy. No. You must begin to budget for your tire, or begin to plan for your tire in the budget. And that means to avoid feeling the pain of buying one tire at 250 or buying one tire at 500 or 600,000, I'm talking about Ugandan shillings, you can pay them by installment. That means you keep saving in that direction. That means you can put there your 20,000, your 30,000, because a tire cannot end just like that unless you have gotten into a major accident. But once you put a tire, it takes time. It can take you 2 years depending on the brand and the quality of the tire. Others can take us 5 years. And so you have to begin immediately from the day you have put your new tire, you have to begin to save for your tire again. But you know, most especially how you use your car. You can be servicing your car if you frequently use it. That means you can be servicing it every month. And so you are not just going to plug money from anywhere else. That's why budget is key. You need to be intentional. That means you have to budget for servicing your car. And you know how many liters of engine oil your car takes. You know how much fuel filter, how much your fuel filter costs. You know how much some of these things cost. You know how much your brake shoes cost or brake pad. Okay? To a motorcycle rider, you understand that. So you need to budget intentionally. You also know how much it will cost you in terms of fuel to go to your workplace or to go to wherever you go and come back. So you must intentionally, again, budget for that. So because they are part of your need, it has to be there. The reason is this, that most times, because we don't budget for this thing, they become emergencies. When your car gets spoiled or you want to service your car, then people cannot eat in the house simply because it has taken all the money in that direction. When your motorcycle has gotten spoiled, you cannot put it back upright now again because the cost of repairing it is very high. But all this duration you have been riding, you're a boda man, you have been earning, and you have not intentionally saved towards the repair and maintenance of your motorcycle. It has become part of your need. So you have to look into that direction.